personnel. With Dan Marino at quarterback, the Dolphins earn their victories in a style few teams can match. I'm sure you've heard of an offense called the run and shoot. Well, this is the stand and fire. Because of Marino's quick release, he's the toughest quarterback in the league to sack. He's mastered nearly all phases of the passing game, and the Dolphins are the top-rated offense in the NFL. The New York Jets are not as polished as the Dolphins, but their coach, Joe Walton, who was one of your former players, Allie, has fielded a team that's always alert, hardworking, and resourceful.
Well, Steve, as our 5'11", 190-pound tight end, Joe had to work up on those good habits. And he did, beating bigger linebackers and catching a lot of passes for us.
Ken O'Brien is Walton's quarterback. He's a long thrower by inclination, but he's deferred to Walton's philosophy of short, possession-type passes to the backs, and especially to the tight end, Mickey Schuler, number 82, who's the team's leading receiver. By playing percentages, O'Brien rarely turns the ball over. He's only got 3 interceptions, and even there he's led a charmed life. Last week against Cincinnati, this interception turned to gold for New York when the referees ruled the play a safety against the Bengals. A subtle but important change in O'Brien is the manner in which he has gained the respect of his teammates. The Jets have played with a sense of optimism and confidence. And Allie, they've certainly come a long way since opening day when they were crushed 31-0 by the Raiders.
The best new feature in the Jet offense is the big improvement in quarterback O'Brien. His ability in the pocket to take that little sidestep and throw. His ability to elude tacklers when he comes out of the pocket and throw. He couldn't do that last year. And more important is his ability now, when his number 1 receiver is covered, to be able to go to his 2nd or 3rd receiver. The quarterback coach, Zeke Bratkowski,
the old Packer,
and the staff have tuned him into a low-risk, medium-range passing game. And he makes excellent use of it. He stays with it most of the time, and he goes to tight end Schuler, who's catching a lot of balls.
He's their leading receiver.
That's right. And they have, as you know, they have an outstanding pass-catching back, and that's Freeman McNeil.
Allie, you know, one of the prevailing how-to-beat Miami theories is to use an offense like the Jets have. You have a low-risk ball control attack. You keep the ball away from Marino, and you make him watch you from the bench as you eat up the yards and the clock on the field. But even that doesn't always work, because in the last 2 meetings, the Jets had the ball an average of 6 minutes more per game than the Dolphins, but they still lost badly both times.
Yeah, that's an old losing syndrome for ball clubs, Steve. Most clubs can run between the 2 20-yard lines. It's those last 20 that are tough, and they get the score. And last year, now, when Marino was going upfield on a quick strike, long pass game to Clayton and to Duper, they got the ball, and they was in for a touchdown. They had no possession time. They didn't amass any first downs, but they got the best bottom line statistic of all, and that's more scores than the other guy.
You know, Allie, Marino has never lost to the Jets, but tonight he'll be confronting a revised defense, and we'll be back to analyze the work of Bud Carson, New York's new defensive coordinator.
Can you find the office here?
Hello, Barry.
Move a little
I'd like
closer.
You to type a letter for me.
Still can't? Here it is. Introducing GTE MobileNet, the car phone service that turns any car into a highly productive office. We provide the phones and the service, and you make and receive calls the same way you do on your office phone, so you can get more work done. In fact, you may get so much done by the time you get to work, you may not have to go to work. GTE MobileNet, the car phone service everyone's talking about.
Follow the leader, Woods Honda, family owned and operated for over 10 years. We're Texas' largest Honda dealer. This means savings on parts, dependable service, and the best deals on the largest selection of Hondas in Texas. Woods Honda, ride with the leader. Woods Honda, between Airport and Kinney, 6509 North Lamar.
When the Dolphin offense takes the field tonight, they might not recognize the defense across the line of scrimmage. Last winter, the Jets hired Bud Carson, the man who helped construct the famous Pittsburgh steel curtain defense of the 1970s, and he's rebuilt New York's defense. in technique and temperament. This is an entirely different unit than the one the Dolphins rolled over last year. The most dramatic change that Bud Carson has made is adding the 3-4 defense to the Jets' game plan. In this alignment, there are 3 down linemen, and there are 4 linebackers. Carson has also injected some aggressive new spirit into the Jets' defense, and they have permitted the fewest points in the AFC. Number 56, Lance Mel, moved from outside linebacker in last year's 4-3 to inside in the 3-4, and he has shown the ability to find gaps in an offense, slip through them, and stop the run. Mel's aggressive play has helped to make the Jets' defense one of the AFC's best against the run. As an outside linebacker in the old 4-3, he was an effective blitzer. Now that he is inside, Mel is closer to the quarterback and even more dangerous. Here's Mel on a blitz. When he's matched one-on-one with a back, he can frequently power his way to the quarterback. In passing situations, the Jets still use a 4-man rush. And led by Mark Gastineau, number 99, it's tough. How tough? Well, 3 quarterbacks who started games against the Jets haven't finished them. But tonight they'll face Dan Marino, who's not only difficult to sack, but almost impossible to stop. Last week, the Steelers momentarily stopped Marino by rushing only 3 down linemen and dropping all their linebackers back into pass coverage. With extra help from the linebackers, giving them 8 defenders in the secondary, the Steelers covered all of Marino's receivers. Marino got impatient and was intercepted 3 times. Now, I don't think the Jets will use this defense because they tried it last week against the Bengals, rushing 3 linemen and sending everyone else back into coverage. It didn't work because New York's unsettled and injury-riddled secondary cannot match up against the quarterback who has plenty of time to throw. Allie, I don't think the Jets are going to lay back tonight. I think they're going to come after Marino with a 4- or 5-man rush.
Steve, if you look back to last year's Super Bowl game, that's exactly what the 49ers did. And they came away with that big prize. And you know, in this business of creativity, if a team does something that works...
Everybody imitates. All the coaches are the same.
You're darn right. You got instant imitation. All 27 of the other ball clubs. What they simply did, besides having a minimum rush of 4 men, is they had deep zone coverages of 4 or 5 or 6 men. And this took that long pass, quick strike ball game away from Marino to Duper to Clayton. Now, Miami didn't adjust. Miami and Marino didn't adjust. And meanwhile, the 49ers ran away with the ball game.
Ali, it just seems to me that no matter what defense you throw up against Marino, he still considers a passing down to be anything after the national anthem. and I think this year I've seen a subtle change in their offense. It just seems that teams know what Marino wants to do, but they're just not sure how he's going to do it.
Yep, and you know, that's a testimony to why Don Shula is a top coach and why Marino is a top quarterback. What they've done is they've taken that big gun Marino game, bang, the long pass, and gone to the Marino spray gun attack. And that means spraying that ball around to a lot of different receivers. Tight end Hardy, the running back, Tony Nathan.
He's their leading receiver.
Right, wide receiver Moore. And he puts that ball out there and pressures that defense all the time. That's what I call the top pressure pass package. You'll see Pittsburgh safety Donnie Shell and linebacker David Little drop to their responsible pass zones. The responsibility of tight end Bruce Hardy, along with quarterback Marino, is to recognize the zone coverage so that an adjustment can be made with Hardy maneuvering into the open hole that zone leaves. Marino, mentally in tune, fires his gun. Notice the excellent job Hardy has done positioning himself, providing a clear passing lane for Marino. You see the perfect marriage between passer and receiver with their understanding of each other. Here's a running back, Tony Nathan, another of the receivers that Marino has made more extensive use of this year. More use, more pressure, because Tony, coming out of the backfield, can not only read a defense and get open, but has the added dimension that makes a pressure receiver. That ability after catching the ball to shift his gears and accelerate, eating up more and more acreage on the way to that big stripe, the goal line. Earlier, we mentioned the whole Miami pass package, receivers, formations, and Marino, the pressure quarterback. Here we see Miami using formation pressure. Wide receiver Nat Moore is positioned as a running back in the backfield. Does the defense cover him with the usual defensive back, or do they leave him to a linebacker who normally covers receivers coming out of that backfield? That could be a mismatch. Wide receiver speed against a linebacker speed. The leader of the pressure pack, the quarterback, Marino. You see him getting set to throw to a receiver out to his right. But look out, his receiver has attracted a crowd wearing the other jerseys. Marino's exceptional ability to see and react says, too many on one side leaves someone open on the other side. With the fastest gun in the league, bang, touchdown. You just saw the Marino spray gun pass offense distribute the ball to different receivers, and I thought it'd be a good idea to see all of the passes on the same board at one time to see just how you pressure a defense in its different parts. You saw him go to Hardy right up the field here about 18 yards. You then saw him also go to Moore coming out of the backfield into about 6 yards. And you also saw him go to Tony Nathan, who came out there to about 11 yards and hit him with the ball. This is tough pressure on a defense. Well, you say, well, how can the Jets do something to counteract this? What do they have to do to get into that defense? They've got to take a page out of the 49er defense book. And that's simply this. They must play pass on every single down. If the Miami Ball Club runs 70 offensive plays, the Jet defense must play pass and pass rush all 70 times and try to...
The Dolphins' offense is as slick and as fast-paced as an episode of Miami Vice, but their defense seems to have gone undercover. They rank 21st in the NFL against the run, and if they want to beat the Jets tonight, they'll have to put the collar on Freeman McNeil. New York's Freeman McNeil, number 24, has carried the ball more times for more yards than anyone in the AFC. McNeil is not an especially fast runner, but he's a smart one. And he can change directions like a Phil Necro knuckleball. He's all jiggle and shake, shift and fake. McNeil is not only the heart of the Jets' running game, but he's also a vital part of their pass offense, too. Last year, the Jets punched holes in the Dolphin defense by using McNeil as a pass receiver. When McNeil was used as a receiver, the responsibility of covering him belonged to the Miami linebackers. In this case, number 51, Mark Brown. It was a matchup that McNeil often won. Allie, McNeil's like an old-time vaudeville song and dance man. He can entertain you in a variety of ways. And when the curtain goes up on tonight's show, the Dolphins better be ready for all of them.
They must minimize McNeil as a runner, Steve. He's a very dangerous runner. He's much like Dickerson of the Rams. He's got the ability to come up towards the line of scrimmage, veer, and accelerate. Tremendous acceleration. He's got the ability to start laterally, cut back, and then accelerate. And if you remember when we talked about defensing Dickerson, Miami's got to defense McNeil the same way. Their defense must keep everything strung out, keep him strung out running laterally, his nose pointed at the sideline, not let him get turned up the field until they get defensive help with tackling him.
Allie, you know, you never hear much about the Dolphin defense. It's like a crazy uncle who's locked up in the attic. It's never mentioned. But when people do talk about the Dolphin defense, they say that they can be hurt by running backs coming out of the backfield acting as receivers. And that's a tactic that the Jets have used very effectively this year.
They sure have, and they've got someone that does it very well. As good a runner as McNeil is, he is one of the best pass receiving backs that I've seen in my time, Steve. And he's a big threat, particularly against Miami. They have trouble at linebacker. They have two inexperienced linebackers playing on inside linebacker positions. Those are two men named Brown and Shipp. Here's Dolphin linebacker Jackie Shipp, number 50, last week against the Steelers. Remember, in most pass coverages, linebackers are responsible for backs coming out of that backfield.
Quarterback. He's a long thrower by inclination, but he's deferred to Walton's philosophy of short possession-type passes to the backs, and especially to the tight end, Mickey Schuler, number 82, who's the team's leading receiver. By playing percentages, O'Brien, or players, Allie, has fielded a team that's always alert, hardworking, and resourceful.
Well, Steve, as our 5'11", 190-pound tight end, Joe had to work up on those good habits. And he did, beating bigger linebackers and catching a lot of passes for us.
Ken O'Brien is Walton's quarterback. He's the toughest quarterback in the league to sack. He's mastered nearly all phases of the passing game, and the Dolphins are the top-rated offense in the NFL. The New York Jets are not as polished as the Dolphins, but their coach, Joe Walton, who was one of your personnel. With Dan Marino at quarterback, the Dolphins earn their victories in a style few teams can match. I'm sure you've heard of an offense called the run and shoot. Well, this is the stand and fire. Because of Marino's quick release, he rarely turns the ball over. He's only got 3 interceptions, and even there he's led a charmed life. Last week against Cincinnati, this interception turned to gold for New York when the referees ruled the play a safety against the Bengals. A subtle but important change.